The first crack did not come with shouting. It came with an empty chair across from mine. Steam drifted from the pasta on the table while I checked the restaurant door every few seconds. The waiter had already asked twice if I wanted to order without my girlfriend. No, I answered with a small smile. She's coming. At least I believe she was. My birthday dinner had started 40 minutes ago. Outside, rain tapped against the windows. Couples laughed around me. Someone blew out candles at another table while friends cheered. My phone stayed dark, then finally buzzed. Running late. Eat first. Busy meeting. No heart. No apology. Just 6 short words. I read them again anyway, searching for warmth that wasn't there. When Claire finally arrived nearly an hour later, her dark coat still carried tiny drops of rain. She sat down, placed her phone beside her plate, and offered a tired smile. Happy birthday. The words landed softly, but they felt empty. It's okay, I told her before she could explain. You made it. She nodded and picked up the menu, even though we had already ordered. I wasn't sure what you wanted. You know exactly what I always order. A brief pause settled between us. She glanced toward the window instead of meeting my eyes. I've had a long day. I know. That became my favorite sentence over the last 2 years. I know. I know you're tired. I know work is stressful. I know your family needs you. I know you don't like crowds. I always knew. The only thing I never knew was whether she truly loved me. The dinner ended quietly. She paid despite my protests. You paid last time. I don't mind. Another polite smile. Another wall between us. As we walked outside, I reached for her hand. She hesitated for half a second before letting me hold it. Most people would never notice something so small. I noticed every time. Grace noticed too. 2 days later, my sister leaned against my kitchen counter while watching me cook dinner. You still look at your phone every 5 minutes. I'm expecting a message. From Claire. I nodded. Grace folded her arms. When was the last time she surprised you? I kept stirring the sauce. I don't know. When was the last time she chose you over work? I stayed quiet. When was the last time she looked excited to see you? The spoon stopped moving. Grace sighed. Ethan, you're disappearing. I'm happy. She raised one eyebrow. Then why are you trying so hard to convince yourself? I laughed, but even I could hear how weak it sounded. Love takes patience. It also takes 2 people. Before leaving, she squeezed my shoulder. Just don't lose yourself waiting for someone who never arrives. The apartment felt much bigger after she left. Much quieter, too. Claire's unread messages became another routine. I would send a picture of something funny. Hours passed. Nothing. I would wish her good luck before an important meeting. Seen. No reply. Sometimes 2 whole days slipped by before my phone finally buzzed. Sorry. Busy week. I always answered within seconds. No worries. Hope everything went well. Looking back, maybe I trained her to believe I would always wait. Our second anniversary arrived on a cool autumn evening. I spent nearly an hour cooking her favorite meal. Candles, fresh flowers, soft music. Everything looked perfect. She arrived almost an hour late again. I'm exhausted. Her bag landed beside the chair. I thought we'd celebrate. We are. She picked at the food without really eating. It's delicious. You barely touched it. I'm just not hungry. The candles burned lower while neither of us spoke much. The room felt colder than the weather outside. She checked her phone 3 times. Each time, she turned the screen away from me. Everything okay? Just work? I wanted to believe her. Love sometimes makes lies easier to accept than truth. When she left that night, half the food remained untouched. So did half my heart. A month later, we attended a charity gala together. Claire looked stunning in a dark blue dress. People greeted her with admiration everywhere we walked. She smiled more at strangers than she ever smiled at me. Still, when photographers asked us to stand together, I wrapped my arm around her waist. The camera flashed. For a moment, we looked like the perfect couple. Maybe photographs tell the biggest lies. The evening passed with speeches, music, and expensive conversations that barely meant anything. Claire excused herself after dessert. I'll be back in a minute. I watched her disappear into a hallway near the private meeting rooms. 10 minutes passed. Curious, I went looking for her. The hallway was quiet. Soft voices drifted through a door that hadn't fully closed. I recognized Claire immediately. Then another voice. Lucas, her childhood friend, the one who always seemed a little too interested whenever I was around. I stopped walking. He still doesn't know? Lucas sounded amused. Claire let out a slow breath. No, you've kept this going almost 2 years. I know. A strange feeling settled into my stomach. Lucas laughed quietly. I honestly thought you'd leave after the first few months. So did I. My heartbeat slowed instead of speeding up. Every word suddenly felt dangerous. You've done enough, Lucas continued. His father destroyed your family. Claire didn't answer right away. Finally, her voice returned, softer than before. It was supposed to feel better. But it doesn't. Lucas clicked his tongue. Don't tell me you're feeling guilty. Another long pause. He loves me. So what? I didn't expect that. You weren't supposed to. My fingers curled around the small velvet box inside my jacket pocket. The promise ring. I had planned to ask her to build a future with me tonight. Instead, I stood frozen outside a half-open door. Lucas spoke again. Everything started because of revenge. Don't forget why you chose him. Revenge. The word echoed through my mind. Not love. Not fate. Not chance. Revenge. Claire's voice became almost a whisper. I haven't forgotten. That sentence broke something inside me. Not because she sounded cruel. Because she sounded certain. Every birthday. Every cold dinner. Every unread message. Every excuse. Every lonely night. They suddenly fit together like pieces of a puzzle I never wanted to solve. I stepped back before either of them noticed me. The hallway blurred as I walked away. The music downstairs sounded distant. People laughed. Glasses clinked together. Life continued as though mine had not just fallen apart. Outside, cold air hit my face. I climbed into my car without remembering how I reached it. The velvet box remained in my hand the whole drive home. I never opened it. By the time I reached my apartment, the city lights had become little more than blurry colors through my windshield. My phone vibrated. Claire's name appeared on the screen. A cheerful message waited for me. Did you enjoy tonight? I couldn't find you before you left. Red heart. I stared at the heart beside her words. For nearly 2 years, I believed that little symbol meant love. Now I couldn't stop wondering if it had always been part of her revenge. The hardest part wasn't hearing the truth. It was waking up the next morning and pretending my world still made sense. Claire's message from the night before stayed unread. Another one arrived before breakfast. Good morning. Are you okay? You left without telling me. My thumb hovered over the screen. Normally, I would answer within seconds. Instead, I locked my phone and set it face down. If our relationship had started as revenge, then every answer I ever received suddenly became another question. I needed facts, not comfort, not excuses. Facts. The next few days passed without seeing Claire. She called 3 times, then 5, then 8. I never answered. My apartment felt strangely peaceful, even though sleep refused to stay longer than a few hours. Every room reminded me of her. The coffee mug she always used. The blanket she claimed was softer than mine. A small hair clip hiding beneath the couch. Tiny pieces of a relationship that suddenly felt borrowed instead of shared. Olivia sent me a message late Friday afternoon. Claire's worried. Can we talk? I almost ignored it. Instead, I agreed to meet at a quiet cafe. She arrived carrying 2 cups of coffee. You look exhausted. I've had a rough week. She slid 1 cup across the table. You disappeared after the charity event. I know. A nervous smile crossed her face. Claire thinks she's done something wrong. My fingers rested around the warm cup. Has she? Olivia studied me carefully. You already know something. I know enough. Her shoulders slowly dropped. For a long moment, she stared into her coffee. I promised I wouldn't get involved. I'm not asking you to betray anyone. No. She breathed deeply. But maybe staying quiet already made me part of it. Neither of us rushed to silence. Finally, she spoke again. Claire has carried anger since she was a teenager. I've heard that. She believes your father destroyed her family's company. Believes, not knows. That single word stayed with me. Where did that story come from? Olivia hesitated. Lucas. The name landed like a stone. He was always there whenever Claire talked about the past. Did you ever question him? I tried once. And He became defensive. She lowered her voice. He kept telling her she deserved justice. Justice. The word tasted bitter. Olivia slowly shook her head. I never liked hearing him use that word. Did Claire ever love me? Her eyes closed for a brief moment. I honestly don't know when it changed. My heart skipped. What do you mean? At first. She stopped herself. At first what? She wanted to get close to you because of your family. The answer finally arrived. Just not the one I wanted. Olivia reached across the table, but stopped before touching my hand. I think things became complicated. Complicated. Another soft word trying to cover something sharp. That evening, I drove to the city library. My father had been gone for 6 years. He couldn't defend himself anymore. Maybe I could still find the truth. Old newspapers filled several dusty shelves. Hour after hour, I searched through business reports from nearly 25 years earlier. Then I found it. Morgan Industries declares bankruptcy following investment collapse. Another article mentioned my father's company, not as the owner, as a business partner. I kept reading. There were lawsuits, failed investments, economic problems, rumors. None of the articles proved my father had destroyed anyone. Most of them described several companies falling together during the same financial crisis. The story wasn't nearly as simple as revenge. Someone had turned a complicated history into one villain. My father. The next morning my phone rang again. Claire. This time I answered. Ethan. Her voice sounded careful. I've been trying to reach you. I know. Can we meet? There are things we need to talk about. I'll come to your apartment. No. A quiet cafe near the river came to mind. Meet me there at 6. I'll be there. Rain covered the windows when she arrived. She wore the same gray coat she often borrowed from work. Her smile appeared for a second before fading. You scared me. I didn't answer. She slowly sat across from me. Both of us noticed the untouched drinks between us. You've been avoiding me. Yes. What? Instead of speaking, I pulled a folded newspaper from my bag. Then another. Then another. Old headlines covered the table. Claire frowned. What is this? My father's past. She glanced through the papers. I don't understand. I think you do. Her fingers froze on one article. The color slowly disappeared from her face. You heard something. I heard enough. The cafe suddenly felt much smaller. She stared at the newspapers without turning another page. How much? A conversation. Her breathing changed. With Lucas. Another pause. The answer never came. It didn't need to. I was standing outside the room. She closed her eyes. For several long seconds, neither of us moved. Customers continued talking around us. Coffee machines hummed behind the counter. Life kept moving while ours stood still. Finally, she whispered, I'm sorry. The words sounded real. Too real. What exactly are you sorry for? She struggled to answer. The beginning. The beginning? Our relationship. My hands rested quietly on the table. I want to hear it from you. Tears gathered in her eyes, but she held them back. I met you because I wanted revenge. There it was. Simple, clean, merciless. No dramatic speech. No complicated explanation. Just one sentence that erased 2 years. You believe my father ruined your family. Yes. And Lucas convinced you. A slow nod. I believed everything he told me. Without checking. Another nod. I was angry. You were. I wanted you to hurt. And did I? She couldn't answer. Instead, her gaze drifted toward the window. I didn't expect. Her voice cracked. I didn't expect you to love me the way you did. I reached in my jacket. The small velvet box felt heavier than ever. Claire noticed it immediately. Her breathing caught. No. I placed it gently between us. The unopened promise ring. I bought this before the charity event. She stared at the box as if it might disappear. I was going to ask you to spend your life with me. A tear slipped down her cheek. You were planning. I thought I had found my forever. The cafe noise faded behind the weight of those words. Slowly, I pushed the box across the table. It belongs to you now. Her hands refused to move. I can't take that. You already did. The sentence landed softly. It hurt anyway. She finally touched the box but never opened it. I'm sorry. I believe you. Hope briefly returned to her face. Then I quietly continued. But believing you're sorry doesn't change what happened. She lowered her head. I don't know how to fix this. You can't. Another tear reached the table. I love you now. The words would have saved everything a week ago. Now they arrived too late. Maybe you do. I stood. But love built on revenge still began with revenge. She reached toward me, stopping just short of my sleeve. Please don't leave like this. My apartment key rested in my pocket. I placed it beside the ring. You don't need this anymore. She stared at the key, then the ring, then the empty chair as I stepped away. The rain had stopped outside. Fresh air filled my lungs as I walked home. Each step felt painfully heavy. Each step also carried me farther from the man who accepted being loved only halfway. Back inside my apartment, I unlocked my phone one final time. Claire's contact filled the screen. My thumb hovered over her name. Delete contact. Confirm. Then I blocked her number. The room felt strangely quiet. A few minutes later, another call came through. Not Claire. Daniel Brooks. My old mentor. His warm voice carried an unexpected offer. I'm opening a new creative studio across the country. I need someone I trust. Interested, I glanced around the apartment, filled with memories that no longer felt like home. Maybe this call wasn't an accident. Maybe it was the first door opening after another had finally closed. The moving truck pulled away just after sunrise. I stood on the sidewalk with one suitcase, one backpack, and a future that looked frighteningly empty. The apartment behind me no longer felt like home. The walls still held memories of birthdays, quiet dinners, and promises that had never been real. I locked the front door one last time. The key stayed in the mailbox. Nothing of mine remained inside except a version of myself I no longer wanted to be. Daniel's message arrived while I waited for my taxi. Welcome to your new beginning. Don't be late. A small smile found its way onto my face. It wasn't joy. Not yet. But it was hope. The drive across the country gave me too much time to think. Every highway reminded me that distance could be measured in miles. Healing couldn't. Some mornings I missed Claire so much that I almost turned the car around. Other mornings, I remembered the word revenge. That single word always kept my hands on the wheel. Daniel welcomed me outside an old brick building that looked more forgotten than successful. This is it. I stared at the faded sign above the entrance. Our creative studio. He laughed. Right now it's 4 walls and broken lights. So we're starting from nothing. He handed me a ring of keys. No. A confident grin spread across his face. We're starting with 2 people who refuse to quit. The first month tested every part of me. We painted walls ourselves, built desks with borrowed tools, spent nights eating cheap takeout while sketching ideas across whiteboards. Money stayed tight. Sleep became a luxury. Still, every finished project reminded me that I could build something instead of begging someone to choose me. Daniel noticed the change before I did. One evening, he dropped 2 coffees onto my desk. You've stopped checking your phone. I glanced toward the corner where it charged quietly. I guess I have. You used to jump every time it buzzed. There isn't anyone waiting anymore. He leaned against the doorway. Wrong. I frowned. What do you mean? He pointed around the room. Clients. A short laugh escaped me. Employees one day. Another laugh. Your future. His voice softened. And yourself. Those words stayed with me long after he left. Grace visited 2 months later. She walked through the unfinished office with wide eyes. I barely recognize you. That bad? No. She smiled warmly. That good. We spent the evening unpacking shelves and arranging artwork. While hanging one of my designs, she stepped back to admire it. You finally signed your name. I blinked. What? She pointed toward the bottom corner of the frame. For years you hid behind company logos. I hadn't even noticed. There it was. My signature. Small. Simple. Real. Grace folded her arms. See? I guess I stopped being afraid. Healing doesn't mean forgetting. Her eyes rested on the painting. It means deciding your pain doesn't get to control tomorrow. I nodded slowly. The sentence felt true in a way I couldn't explain. Life settled into a new rhythm. Morning meetings. Late-night deadlines. New clients. Unexpected successes. Every achievement repaired a piece of confidence I didn't realize I had lost. Claire slowly became less present in my thoughts. Not because I hated her, because life finally offered me something else to hold. One afternoon, Daniel walked into my office carrying a thick folder. Good news. We landed the hotel project. He tossed the contract onto my desk. We landed 3. I stared at the papers. 3 major clients. Enough work to hire more people. Enough work to dream bigger. Daniel noticed my silence. You earned this. I almost threw everything away. But you didn't. His smile carried quiet pride. You kept walking. Meanwhile, my old phone number belonged to someone else. I only learned that months later. A package arrived at the office with no return address. Inside sat several unopened envelopes tied together with a blue ribbon. Each one carried my old address. Each one had been forwarded several times before finally reaching me. The handwriting stopped my breathing. Claire. I counted them. 1, 3, 7, 12 letters. Every envelope remained sealed. Daniel appeared at my office door. Everything okay? I turned the bundle over in my hands. I think these are apologies. You gonna read them? My thumb rested on the first envelope. Then I placed them inside a drawer. Not today. He didn't question my choice. Instead, he quietly closed the door behind him. Weeks later, Olivia called the office. The receptionist transferred her to me. Ethan, it's been a while. I know. She hesitated. I thought you deserved to hear something. I leaned back in my chair. What happened? Claire found old company records. A strange feeling settled over me. What kind of records? Letters. From who? Your father. My grip tightened around the phone. He tried to save her family's business. I closed my eyes. What? There were meeting notes, bank documents, investment offers. She sounded shaken. He wasn't the reason the company collapsed. My heart pounded against my ribs. Then who was? A long pause followed. Lucas's father. The room suddenly felt very still. He secretly pulled money out before the company failed. I struggled to process the words. Claire knows. She knows everything now. Another pause. She hasn't stopped crying since. I stared through the office window. Cars moved below. People hurried along sidewalks. The world kept turning. So my father died, carrying blame that never belonged to him. I'm sorry. So am I. Olivia's voice became quieter. Claire's been trying to find you. My number changed. She found your old apartment. I don't live there. She mailed letters. I know. You haven't opened them. No. A tired sigh crossed the line. I don't think she's trying to hurt you anymore. That doesn't change what happened. It doesn't. Neither of us argued. There wasn't anything left to defend. Construction on our new office finished in early spring. Glass walls replaced old bricks. Fresh signs carried our company name across the entrance. Employees laughed while decorating workspaces. The building no longer looked forgotten. Neither did I. Daniel clapped a hand against my shoulder. Ready for tomorrow? The grand opening? He grinned. Big day. I smiled back. It really is. The next morning, people filled the lobby before the ceremony even started. Clients, journalists, friends, new employees. Everyone moved from conversation to conversation. The room buzzed with excitement. I stood near the stage greeting guests when the front doors slowly opened. Claire stepped inside. She wore a simple cream-colored coat instead of her usual expensive business clothes. No makeup hid the exhaustion beneath her eyes. She held herself carefully, almost as if afraid the room might reject her. Our eyes met across the crowded lobby. She took one careful step forward, then another. Before she could reach me, one of our newest clients extended a hand. Congratulations, Ethan. A photographer called my name. Daniel waved me toward another group waiting near the stage. Work pulled me forward. Life pulled me forward. When I glanced back again, Claire was still standing near the entrance. This time she wasn't watching the successful business. She was watching the man who had finally learned how to live without making her the center of his world. Claire stood near the entrance while people celebrated around me. She didn't interrupt. She didn't force her way through the crowd. She simply waited. By the time the ribbon-cutting ceremony ended, she was gone. No message waited on my phone. No letter appeared at the office. Her quiet exit stayed with me much longer than another apology would have. A week later, Grace called before breakfast. Have you seen the news? I poured coffee into my favorite mug. I've barely opened my laptop. Do it. Her voice carried something between surprise and relief. The headline filled the screen. Business executive admits hidden fraud in Morgan Industries collapse. My hand stopped moving. Another headline appeared underneath. New evidence clears former partner Thomas Carter after 25 years. My father, his name, finally free. I opened the article with shaking fingers. The investigation had uncovered old financial records hidden for decades. Lucas's father had secretly moved company money before the collapse. Then he blamed my father. The lie grew until everyone accepted it as truth, including Claire. I leaned back in my chair. For years, my father carried a stain that never belonged to him. Even after death, people whispered his name with doubt. Now the truth stood where lies once lived. Daniel knocked gently before entering my office. I figured you'd already know. I turned the monitor toward him. It's real. It is. He smiled quietly. Congratulations. It doesn't feel like winning. No. He pulled a chair closer. But your father finally got his name back. That sentence settled somewhere deep inside me. The little family photo on my desk suddenly looked different. Dad smiled from that old picture exactly the way I remembered. Proud, calm, honest. Maybe he had always trusted the truth to find its way home. More articles appeared throughout the week. Television stations covered the story. Business magazines published detailed reports. People who once avoided mentioning my family suddenly reached out with apologies. Most of them meant well. None of it could give my father another day of life. Olivia visited the office without warning. She looked exhausted. I hope I'm not interrupting. I offered her a seat. You've come a long way. She nodded. I wanted you to hear this from me. I waited. Claire exposed everything. I read the reports. You didn't read all of it. She opened a folder and slid several papers across my desk. Printed emails, bank records, meeting notes. Each document carried Claire's handwritten notes. She had personally gathered every piece of evidence. She had taken it to investigators. She had spoken publicly. Lucas threatened her. I looked up. What? He warned her to stay quiet. And she didn't. Olivia shook her head. She stood in front of cameras anyway. My eyes returned to the papers. Why? Because she finally understood what she stole from you. Several days later, another message reached my office. Not a letter, not a phone call, just a short note left with the receptionist. If you're willing, I'll be waiting at Riverside Park at 6. No expectations, just one conversation. No name. It didn't need one. The park looked almost unchanged. The river reflected the evening sun. Children laughed near the playground. An old couple shared a bench beneath blooming trees. Claire stood beside the water. The wind gently moved her hair. She turned as my footsteps reached the path. Thank you for coming. I almost didn't. I know. Her hands remained folded together. No dramatic rush. No desperate attempt to close the distance between us. She respected it. Maybe because she finally understood what boundaries felt like. I saw the news. A faint nod. So did everyone else. You clear my father's name. I only told the truth. A sad smile crossed her face. I should have searched for it years ago. The river flowed quietly beside us. I believed someone who wanted me angry. Lucas. Another nod. He knew I trusted him, and he used that trust. She closed her eyes briefly. I kept thinking revenge would heal my family. Did it? No. The answer came without hesitation. It destroyed another family instead. Claire reached into her handbag. My heartbeat slowed. She carefully placed a small velvet box on the bench between us. The promise ring, still unopened. I couldn't keep it. My fingers rested beside the box without touching it. I don't deserve something that was bought with hope. The evening breeze carried the scent of fresh grass. Everything around us felt peaceful. Everything between us remained broken. You never opened it. I couldn't. Her voice trembled slightly. Every time I tried, I remembered the man who believed I loved him. Neither of us moved. The box stayed between us like the distance we could never erase. I've read every letter you wrote. Her eyes widened. You opened them? I smiled gently. No. Confusion crossed her face. I wrote 12. I know. They're still sealed. Yes. She lowered her head. I think I understand. I wasn't afraid of your words. A slow breath escaped me. I was afraid they might make me forget what happened. Another long pause. Then she whispered, I never wanted your father to carry that lie. I believe you. I never wanted to become this person. I believe that too. Hope briefly returned to her expression. Then it faded when I quietly continued. Believing you doesn't erase what we lived through. She reached into another folder. One final photograph appeared. My family. My parents. Me as a little boy. The picture had hung in Claire's apartment during our relationship. I thought it had been thrown away. I cleaned the frame. She carefully handed it to me. It belongs with you. I traced my father's smiling face with my thumb. The cracked glass had been replaced. The dust was gone. Someone had taken time to restore it. Just not soon enough. Thank you. She smiled through tired eyes. It's the least I could do. The sun drifted lower behind the trees. People slowly left the park. The evening grew quieter. I loved you. The words escaped before I could stop them. I know. I would have stayed through almost anything. I know. But not this. She nodded once. You shouldn't. Claire stepped back. Not because she wanted to leave. Because she finally accepted that I wasn't going to ask her to stay. I'm proud of the man you've become. You helped create him. Pain flickered across her face. I know. You broke the version of me that thought love meant accepting less. And the version standing here? I looked toward the river. He knows love should never ask someone to lose themselves. She smiled sadly. I wish I'd met him first. You did. A quiet laugh escaped me. You just couldn't see him. She took another step backward. The distance between us felt honest now. Not cold. Not angry. Simply real. I don't expect another chance. You shouldn't. I only wanted you to know that everything I feel now is real. I believe it. Those 3 words seemed to comfort her more than any promise could have. Because they were true. She turned toward the path. After only a few steps, she stopped. The evening breeze carried her final question across the quiet park. If I had met you without revenge. She looked back one last time. Would we have been happy? I stood beside the bench with the unopened ring in one hand and my restored family photograph in the other. The answer rested somewhere between the life we lost and the one I had finally begun to build. I opened my mouth, but before a single word could leave it, she quietly walked away. The first morning I woke without thinking about Claire felt almost ordinary. That surprised me more than anything. No sharp memories greeted me before sunrise. No questions waited beside my bed. Only another workday, another chance to keep building the life I almost walked away from. Healing had arrived so quietly that I almost missed it. 6 months passed. Our creative studio no longer looked like a small startup. Design awards lined one wall. New employees filled the open office with laughter and ideas. Clients booked meetings weeks in advance. Daniel walked through the workspace carrying 2 coffee cups. Some traditions never changed. You've got 5 minutes before your next meeting. He handed 1 cup to me. I remember when this place had broken windows and 1 working light. He laughed. Now you're complaining because we need a bigger conference room. I looked around the office. I never imagined any of this. You stopped waiting for someone else to choose you. His smile carried the same quiet wisdom it always had. Everything changed after that. Grace visited later that afternoon. She paused in front of the wall where our company's biggest achievements were displayed. You finally believe you deserve this. I think I'm still learning. She nudged my shoulder. We all are. Her eyes moved toward the framed family photograph sitting on my desk. Dad's smile looked brighter after the frame had been restored. Mom stood beside him, laughing at something outside the picture. That photo no longer reminded me of loss. It reminded me of truth. They'd be proud. I hope so. Grace squeezed my hand. They would. News about Lucas slowly disappeared from public conversation. His father's crimes had destroyed more than one family. Lucas lost his position. Business partners walked away. Friends became strangers. The anger he had fed for years finally circled back to him. I didn't celebrate. Life had already handled justice better than revenge ever could. Olivia called one evening. Got a minute? I'm heading home, but sure. I thought you want to know how Claire's doing. I stayed quiet. She's different. Ow! She sold part of her company. I frowned. Why? She started a foundation. A foundation? Families hurt by financial fraud. I leaned against my car. She's paying for legal help, counseling, anything people need. The evening traffic moved around me. trying to make things right. She knows she never can. Olivia's voice softened, but she's trying anyway. After ending the call, I stood there a little longer. People can change. That truth mattered. It simply didn't erase the past. Another season passed. One rainy afternoon, our company sponsored a local charity event. Children painted murals. Musicians played in the town square. Families filled every corner with laughter. I wandered between booths until a familiar voice reached me. Ethan. I turned slowly. Claire stood beside a donation table. Simple clothes. Hair tied back. No expensive jewelry. No walls around her smile anymore. Just quiet honesty. I didn't know you'd be here. Neither did I. A volunteer called her name from across the booth. 1 second. She helped an elderly woman carry several boxes before returning. Sorry. It's okay. She brushed a loose strand of hair behind her ear. I volunteer here every weekend. I heard about the foundation. A shy smile appeared. It's not enough. No. She nodded. I know, but it's something. It is. We walked slowly through the park beside the event. The conversation came easily, not because nothing had happened, because neither of us was pretending anymore. I visited your father's grave. I stopped walking. You did. She nodded. I apologized. The wind gently moved the trees above us. I don't know if that matters. It does. I left flowers. A long breath escaped me. He always liked white lilies. Her eyes widened. I didn't know. You couldn't. She smiled sadly. I wish I had known him. He would have liked you. The word surprised even me. Not the person who wanted revenge. A faint smile touched my face. The person standing here now. Moisture gathered in her eyes, but she blinked it away. Thank you. She reached into her bag once more. The same velvet box rested in her palm. I've been carrying this for months. The ring. I don't think either of us should keep it. She handed it to me. What will you do? I looked toward a charity booth collecting jewelry donations to help children needing medical care. An idea quietly formed. Something better. Together we walked toward the booth. The volunteer smiled warmly. Would you like to donate? I placed the unopened promise ring inside the collection box. The tiny sound it made against the other donations echoed much louder inside me. Claire watched without speaking. Neither of us reached for it again. That chapter of our lives finally belonged to the past. The sun began setting behind the trees. Families packed blankets. Children chased each other across the grass. The day slowly came to an end. Claire folded her hands together. I wanted to thank you. For what? For showing me what real love looks like. A quiet laugh escaped me. I wasn't perfect. I know. She smiled. You loved me honestly. A pause settled between us. I didn't understand how valuable that was until I lost it. Those words didn't reopen old wounds. They simply confirmed what I already knew. I don't expect forgiveness. You already have it. She blinked. You do. I stopped carrying anger a long time ago. Hope briefly returned to her eyes. Then I gently continued. Forgiveness isn't the same as starting over. Understanding slowly replaced hope. I know. I truly hope your future is peaceful. And yours. It already is. She smiled through glistening eyes. I'm glad. A train whistle echoed from the nearby station. I checked my watch. I should go. Business trip? I nodded. We're opening another studio. Her smile grew wider. You always dreamed bigger than you admitted. I finally gave myself permission. She stepped closer. Not close enough to touch. Just close enough for a proper goodbye. I'm proud of you. Take care of yourself. You too. She hesitated for only a moment. Then she quietly turned and walked back toward the charity event. This time I didn't watch until she disappeared. Some endings don't need one last look. The station platform glowed beneath the early morning sun. My suitcase rested beside my feet. Fresh light stretched across the tracks, warming the cold steel with soft gold. Daniel waved from a few steps ahead. You ready? I smiled. I've been ready longer than I realized. The train rolled into the station. Its doors opened with a gentle hiss. As I stepped inside, the city where I had loved, lost, and rebuilt myself slowly faded behind the window. Months earlier, I believed Claire had taken everything from me. I couldn't have been more wrong. She had taken the life I thought I wanted. In the empty space that remained, I found the man I was always meant to become. The train began moving. The sunrise spread wider across the sky. I never looked back, because losing the woman I loved became the moment I finally found myself.